Welcome to Technique Thursday on the Piano Ninja Tricks podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Spector, your piano ninja, helping you become a piano ninja. Today's a bit different. It's Thursday, Thanksgiving Day in the United States, and I am going to be sharing a podcast all about gratitude. If you're in the United States, happy Thanksgiving, and if you're not, every day wants to be a day of gratitude anyhow. Instead of going into a piano trick, I am going to be sharing a piece of music that is a bit of an arrangement you've never heard, unless you've heard me play it, because it's a combination of playing Godwosky with my left hand only, combined with Chopin with two hands. Why am I doing that? Because it reminds me of something I am deeply grateful for. In 2017, I tripped over a curb while carrying a water bottle with my fourth finger, my ring finger of my right hand. The water bottle did not release when I fell, and it completely crushed my hand and my soul when I realized I thought my finger had fallen off. It was so deformed. I was in such pain that I had to be taken to an ambulance because I needed narcotics right away. Morphine, whatever they gave me to relieve the pain, I don't know, but I needed something. It was so excruciating. And all I could focus on was one thing. When am I going to get my hand back? And when can I play the piano again? I went to a hand clinic and had hand surgery. The first hand surgery appeared to be successful of what happened during surgery, although there were more broken bones than had showed up in the x-rays. It turned out to 7 complicated little fractures. And that night, I was in such pain that by midnight I was in ER. And in ER, they loosened the cast, reset and loosened the cast a little bit because I was complaining about such severe tightness of the cast, not knowing that I had another diagnosis coming. So I go home and I try and get some sleep, and it's really challenging because the pain just is so present. And I can't get off of narcotics. I hated being on narcotics, but I couldn't get off of them because the pain was so bad. I couldn't sleep. During my waking hours, I was like a walking zombie. And during that period before I saw my hand surgeon again, I was in even more pain because I didn't know that I had a bone subluxation and my bone had slipped. A bone subluxation and my bone had slipped. So I go into the doctor, and the last thing you want to do is get an x-ray taken and get a phone call directly from your surgeon saying, come back up to my office immediately, which I did and said, we need to perform surgery again tomorrow or your bone is going to set and you will never play piano again. So next day I'm back for my second surgery, which in all, it went well. It went well in terms of bone healing. So the good news, I immediately got off of narcotics, thank God, and really started to get into some more serious hand therapy. I was in hand therapy while my right hand was still in a cast, just getting any movement, because keep in mind, when you have hand surgery, typically your hand, like originally it might have been in the cast 3 weeks, but now because of 2 surgeries, now it's going to be in the cast 6 weeks, which is dangerous because you want movement as a pianist. So working with a hand therapist who I adored, and about 2 months in, she says, I need to call in the surgeon to tell you something. And I take a deep breath and I said, okay. And so he comes in and he says, we believe you have CRPS, complex regional pain syndrome. never heard of it, didn't know what it was. It's a rare neurological disorder. And when it does happen, typically it more likely happens to middle-aged women when they've had trauma to their hand or their foot. And the diagnosis can be challenging because different patients have different symptoms, but mine was a lot of redness, pain, just constant pain, swelling, couldn't get movement, all the things. And what do you do when you hear of a disease that you've been diagnosed with, you don't know anything about it? You Google it. And I Googled it, and it was terrifying because a lot of people never recover from CRPS. They have it their whole life. And I knew that if I didn't recover, I would never be playing the piano again with two hands. So I regrouped, and I formed a new medical team. I kept my surgeon. He's fabulous. Kept him for 2 more surgeries. Found alternative treatments, acupuncture, Feldenkrais, worked privately with a top Feldenkrais practitioner who was training the other Feldenkrais practitioners. If you don't know of it, Google it. It's a form of slow movement therapy that's so fabulous. Went to trauma therapy, did all the things, and found a new hand therapist. Now keep in mind the original hand therapist, when I went to her with my typical question, when am I going to play piano again? Am I going to play piano again? And when? She said, look at your hand, how could you? First question to my new hand therapist, am I going to play piano again and when? And she said, look at your hand, why wouldn't you? I fired the first one. I hired the second one. Stayed with her through 2 more successful surgeries over several years, 186 hand therapy sessions. Eventually took her into retirement. Sheila, I'm so grateful to you. Wouldn't be where I am without you. You reminded me every session, you said, little by little, reward the littlest tiny improvements. And I bring this story to you today for several reasons. It's certainly a story of gratitude for me, but it's also a lesson for you. One is little by little is what the piano ninja tricks are about. I believe these piano ninja tricks were created because of this experience. Because I was able, when that original hand therapist said, you're not going to play piano again, of course I was devastated. It took me some time to recover from that statement, but once I did, all I wanted to do was prove her wrong. Because she didn't know me. She didn't know my hand. She didn't know the piano tricks I had up my sleeve. They weren't documented yet. I didn't have a system for them yet, but they lived up here in my head. And I knew from everything I learned how to make everything easier at the piano. Now it was time to do that for myself. With my hand, I couldn't reach an octave. I have my left hand can reach a comfortable 10th, almost an 11th. My right hand was always a very comfortable 10th. All of a sudden, I couldn't even play a 4-note major chord. And then when I got the major chord, I couldn't yet reach a 4-note minor chord. Some of them are still challenging for me. This is my inner reach. But my question changed. My question changed from, when am I going to get my hand back, to what are the gifts I am experiencing with my new hand? It took some time, a good 6 months before I asked that question. And as soon as I asked that question, I started noticing all the gifts. One of them is this. One of them is the piano ninja tricks. The pianists that I'm helping from all over the world play the piano with joy and with ease and make everything easier because of this experience that I went through. That's why I say that day in June of 2017 was simultaneously the worst and the best day of my life. I wouldn't be here now sharing this with you without that experience. The experience of making music with my heart. Prior to that, I'd spent 10 years doing something I loved. I was creating music full-time. I was creating music for dogs, for canine anxiety. I'm doing that again now, but it's not my main focus. This is. And I loved that business. I was very passionate about it. But I hardly had any time at all to play the piano. I played a little early morning and late at night, and that was it. And this experience of when I almost lost the ability to play the piano with two hands reminded me how much I love to play piano and make music. And it is my God-given gift to share that with you and share the tips and tricks that I have learned along the way. And I will show one more story about this before I get to music, which is during this process when I was learning a lot of left-hand music, and that's another thing I'm very grateful for. I didn't even know of all this left-hand music that I've since learned. Recorded an album called Left Hand Lemonade. It's still available, and I just love the left-hand repertoire so much so that now most of my concerts are both for left-hand only and for two hands. And so I was in a meetup with a very dear friend of mine. Susan Hammond was hosting every month, and so I'd go in every month and just try out new left-hand music. And I was playing, it was early on, I was playing the first left-hand piece I learned, the Scriabin Prelude, which has 3 voices, and it's more complicated than it sounds, 3 voices and 5 fingers. And I finished, and Sue said, "Lisa, I hope you're not offended if I tell you that I think this experience has made you a better musician." And I said, "Sue, that is the greatest compliment. I'm not offended. That's a compliment." Because she said to me, "I wonder if it's because, you're playing different voices with 5 fingers and it causes you to listen differently." And I said, "That's part of it. But a deeper part is I almost lost something I forgot that I loved so dearly. It's playing piano, making music, sharing those talents with you." This injury reminded me of that, and I couldn't be more grateful. And I do believe it has made me a better musician. It's made me a better teacher. So whether you're someone who's had an injury or not, I never had any piano injuries before this fall, but whether you're a musician or pianist who's had an injury or not, I can relate to the feeling if you're stuck. You can't play the music your heart is calling you to play. I am here to support you in that. Every Piano Ninja trick is about that. My heart and soul, I live and breathe for that, to help you with that. So it is time to get on to music. This is also one of the first pieces I learned for left hand only, the Godwosky arrangement of the Aeolian Harp Etude by Chopin. Arranged, instead of the melody being in the outer fingers for your right hand, how Chopin wrote it, arranged for left hand only, which I've done the whole left hand. It's one of the more challenging pieces of any repertoire I've ever done. However, today I'm going to start out with that, and then I am going to go to the Chopin. So you'll if you're listening and not watching, you'll hear exactly when the Chopin comes in with 2 hands. So enjoy the Aeolian Harp Etude, written by Chopin, but the first part of it is arranged by another Polish composer, Godwosky. hope you enjoyed that. Gina, to my dog to my right in her dog bed, is snoozing. You might have heard some snoring. That is the first Chopin Etude I ever learned for two hands, the Godwosky. I'd always put off learning any of the Godwosky arrangements of the Chopin Etudes. I tried many times in my younger years and I found them too challenging. But you know what? When you're forced and you only have one hand, you do what you can. So hope you enjoyed that. If that is a piece you are learning or want to learn in the future, well, the Black Friday specials are all gone. I wanted to get them over with soon, so I have some time off during the holiday. There's one left, which is my tutorial, my lesson on this etude, the piano ninja tricks I applied to make it easier for you, is available half price. It's only $20. For $20, you get a lesson from me on this. And you can find that on the homepage at lisaspector.com, and that will be available through Cyber Monday. So I wish you a wonderful Thanksgiving, and remember, whether you're in this country celebrating Thanksgiving or not, in the United States celebrating Thanksgiving or not, there's always so much to be grateful for. So I invite you to take a moment to remember that. Thank you so much for listening, and I am eternally grateful for you for listening and hopefully applying and learning some of these piano ninja tricks that make your music playing more enjoyable. Thanks so much. I'm going to close here.